Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cascadia Mountain Weather. My name is Wyatt Mullen, and today is Friday, November 24th. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the weather this upcoming weekend. The general overview is it's going to be beautiful, probably one of the more gorgeous Thanksgiving weekends ever if you like sun and relatively on seasonal temperatures. And also, we're going to be talking a little bit more about inversions because we'll be entering kind of an inversion pattern as we do normally this time of year with high pressure and a ridge overhead, and some of the dynamics that are at play there. Um, so this is the photo of an inversion that I took out kind of in the Chuckanut area from 2019. They can provide really, really striking imagery where you end up with that like ocean of clouds. And what you have is it's called an inversion because the temperatures are inverted from what you would normally expect. So normally you'd expect temperatures to gradually decrease as you go up in elevation. But an inversion is where you have cold temperatures near the surface and then a warm layer, and then temperatures then will decrease. But we'll go more into detail about that in a second. So if we look at right now, we can see this really, really big ridge of high pressure that is off the coast. And that's going to basically divert any storms away from us and keep us in the sunny-ish pattern for at least the next 5 days, if not a little bit longer. You can see that as we move forward, this is on Saturday, this is on Sunday, this is on Monday, going into even Tuesday. You can see that this really kind of stays there. Maybe you get some systems going down in California, but really kind of keeps us high and dry. We can also look at these temperatures. This is not at the surface level, but this is about 1,000 meters or about 3,000 feet. And temperatures are expected to be kind of in the 6 to 7 degrees Celsius range. So definitely above freezing and kind of maybe in that low 40s. And this is pretty warm for this time of year. And even during like the spring or fall, if this happened, maybe we'd see temperatures maybe is in the 70s, but we're not going to be seeing that because of this inversion that's setting up. We can go a little bit higher up. So this is 700 millibar temperature, so maybe 9 to 10,000 feet up in the atmosphere, so level of Mount Baker, some of Camp Muir on Mount Rainier. We can see that even this is for a couple days from now, but the temperatures are still going to be above freezing. So that's going to help facilitate the pretty high freezing levels that we're going to see over the next couple of days, up near 9,000 feet. What's interesting is that sometimes with inversions, you get really, really stable air, and that's what can allow that level of cloud or fog to form pretty low down, which means that once you get up to 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet above, you're kind of in the sun. We're probably not going to see that as much this time, although if as we go further kind of into this inversion pattern, we might see it, but we have some high pressure up here in Canada and some low pressure kind of off the coast, and that pressure gradient is going to facilitate some easterly and some northerly winds that keep us a little bit better mixed and probably keep us sunnier versus just completely socked in. So I wanted to point out the temperatures kind of that are normal with an inversion. So this is down near Seattle, so basically sea level. You can see high temperatures in like the mid 40s to maybe upper 40s, low temperatures right around freezing. If we go up to 5,000 feet up near Paradise at Mount Rainier, we honestly see after today pretty similar temperatures, right? So high temperatures are going to be in those low to mid 40s, even at 5,000 feet, where normally they'd be 10 to 15 degrees cooler. And low temperatures are going to be pretty comparable as well. It honestly might be colder down in the lowest elevations. I wanted to show that, so we have now entered inversion season, which is basically kind of the like middle of November to maybe the end of January. And that's the time of year when the sun is just not quite strong enough to break through the level of clouds and kind of the cold air that forms at the base. I'll go into that a little bit more detail, but we can look. So this is the record highs for Seattle. And you can see that like at the beginning of November, you can still get into the mid 70s in Seattle. It's not common, but it does happen. Once we get into late November, and especially December and January, like some of those record highs are only 10 degrees above the average high. So average high is 47 and record high is 54 for December 29th, which is pretty crazy. And like the highs rarely ever get above 60 degrees. If they're getting above 60 degrees, it's honestly generally with like a really warm atmospheric river or Pineapple Express where you bring in some like tropical or subtropical moisture up from the south. And that's how the temperatures get so warm, because otherwise what happens is on these sunny days, like we're just never going to get into the even barely the 60s. And then you can compare that with Mount Rainier, which is at 5,000 feet. And the temperature, like the record highs, well, the average temperature is about 15 degrees lower. The record highs are actually basically the same as they are down at Seattle, which is kind of interesting. And you can see that happen where sometimes mountains that are in the 3,000 to 4,000 foot range during these strong inversions get into the low 70s during December, and that will just never happen in the lower elevations. Here's a kind of a graphic specific to the Puget Sound about how inversions work. So you get the cold air, which is the denser air, which pools in these valleys and low elevations. And then you might have some of the foothills or especially the mountains, which rise above that and see that warmer layer of temperatures before the temperature drops off again. And basically why that is during the winter, the sun is just not quite strong enough to mix the atmosphere well, right? So on cold nights, your cold air settles because it's denser. And then when the sun tries to penetrate into that cloud layer and into that cold air to warm up the surface, it just doesn't quite get there because it doesn't rise high enough in the sun angles don't get high enough. So that's why it's around this kind of December, January timeframe that we generally see these strongest inversions. We get inversions during the summer as well. But what happens is those generally get mixed out earlier. And so you might have clouds and that marine layer in the morning. But then by the afternoon, generally the sun will be strong enough to kind of mix in and erase those clouds. And then we'll see temperatures warm up into the 70s. And then I just wanted to point out that like this inversion can also, in addition to the formation of fog and clouds, also can lead to degradation in air quality. As pollutants kind of get trapped in that colder layer, and the warmer layer, which is less dense, kind of hangs up as a lid above. So not to get too technical, but this is kind of a cool example. It's called a skew T-chart. And you don't have to know everything that's going on here, but the most important thing is it shows how temperature changes as a function of height. And this was as of a couple days ago. What we can see is a pretty standard temperature change where like our temperature generally decreases as we go up in elevation. Along the y-axis, we have our pressures. So this is in millibars. And then along the x-axis, we have our temperatures in degrees Celsius. So you can see we start about 10 degrees Celsius, so kind of in the 40s, and then drop there as we go up in elevation. Compare that to what the forecast is for the next couple days, where we're starting around freezing. But as we go up to about 1 kilometer, so like kind of that 850 millibar thing that we were looking at earlier, you see that the temperature actually increases to maybe 5 or 6 degrees. And even at 3 kilometers, at that 700 millibar range, it is still close to, if not above, where we were down at the surface. So that's kind of that lid that keeps that. Here's the warm air, and then this is keeping the cold air trapped below. So kind of interesting to see this inverted curve right here. This is an example of an inversion that we had in 2022 in January. They can create really stunning sunsets if you get that cloud formation, or sunrises, where probably that's the better chance of seeing some fog and low clouds. So if you go up into the foothills, the Issaquah Alps, the kind of Blanchard area or Chuckanut area, you can get this view where you look out over the ocean and see this cloud ocean. And then you can see out towards like the west, the Olympics, or towards the east, the Cascades. Not sure that that's going to happen. Like I said, the winds might be a little bit strong enough that they might keep that from forming, but could happen. If it does, it's really stunning. So going into more current conditions, this is once again the snow level or the snow depths that we're seeing right now. Most places above 4,000 feet have at least some form of snow. It doesn't really get super deep until kind of that 4,500 to 5,000 foot range. If you're planning to try to go up to 5,000 feet, keep that in mind, and you probably will want some form of flotation. Reports say that definitely snowshoes or skis are useful once you get above that 5,000 feet, where your snow depth might be 30 to 40 inches. Reports have been good that there's been some good skiing up near Baker. Some skiing has been going along Highway 20 as well, which is still open and probably will remain open until the storms return at the beginning of December, and probably down near Mount Rainier as well. Some good skiing opportunities. Elsewhere, like probably rocky enough that you're not going to be wanting to do too much skiing, but you might get some turns on, and just watch out for rocks. Snowpack should be relatively stable. And with the colder temperatures, and we might start seeing some, or we might continue to see some of the lakes freeze, which can create some beautiful clear ice before the snow covers it. So something to look out for as well. Not too much snow still around the Snoqualmie Pass area, though, only a couple inches. Here's the snow level forecast. So we're starting pretty normal for this time of year, about 3,000 feet. But as the inversion sets in, we'll go to 5,000 feet and then 7,500 feet, even up to 8,500 feet Monday, Tuesday, before, as kind of the as the systems move in, it will drop down again. And this is from Northwest Avalanche Center, showing kind of that rising snow level as we go into the weekend. If we look at temperatures, like I said, it's going to be pretty constant everywhere. So you're going to start in the freezing mid-20s, maybe a little bit of winds to on areas that are exposed to kind of easterlies and northerlies, but not too much. And then the temperature will warm up into that mid-30s to maybe even low 40s, maybe even mid-40s, honestly, if the inversion is strong enough. This looking to Snoqualmie Pass, similar story. And then talking about kind of where we are. So this was from last week, and we can see that now our drought conditions have improved slightly. Drought takes a while to improve. And so as we saw that rain that came in at the beginning of the month, we had quite a bit wetter than normal, like first week. We see that eventually that led to decrease in the extreme drought that was ongoing, but definitely still significantly drier than normal. We can see that even for the last 2 weeks, most of the area is below normal on precipitation, kind of that anywhere from 25 to 70% of normal. And then if we go into since kind of the beginning of fall, we can see that the North Cascades have a pretty extreme deficit, stretching through Skagit and Snohomish counties out towards kind of the rain shadow of the Olympics. But actually Seattle and some of the lowlands like Portland have seen close to normal precipitation for the fall. If you look back for the full year, then the whole area is still in pretty exceptional kind of precip deficit. Then looking 7 to 10 day, the storm train does look to resume beginning of December, basically. Looks like some good chances at mountain snow. None of the ski areas except for Whistler are open currently, but hopefully by the beginning of December, as these storms arrive, I could see them opening up. So that's exciting, and it will be good to start building a snowpack, which we're now below average on. And then one last thing I wanted to plug is that I do have my 2024 calendar on sale right now for $22. It's on my website, which is wyattmullen.com. So it's kind of similar to the 2023 calendar. It is like 28 pages. One of the cool things about it is that it's like all photos from the past year. And you'll get some descriptions about kind of like, if you follow me on Instagram, kind of similar to that, where I try to place you, like to just talk about where the photo was taken and try to place you in that moment, generally using way too flowery of language, but I have a fun time with it. It's $22 right now. It'll ship out probably second week of December, so you'll have it in time for the holiday. Yeah, and really, if you end up getting it, really appreciate the support. Other than that, Kyle will be back for next week, and we'll get into hopefully a stormier, snowier pattern with some more exciting weather, although it's beautiful right now, so it's hard to complain. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.